This week we begin our next module. Since we'll be creating a number of files, I wanted to start out by taking a little bit of time to talk about file storage and file management. Never trust a computer. Seriously, never ever trust a computer. I've had computers in my life since I was 10 years old. Now that's over 32 years of broken disks, failed hard drives, dead electronics, you name it. I won't say I've seen everything that can go wrong, but I've seen quite a bit. Now, while I made a very good living for my family by taking care of technology, over the years I've developed what I like to call a healthy sense of technological paranoidism. You see, the value of a computer is not what you pay for the hardware and the software. The value is in the data that you store on it. Your pictures, videos, text, emails, homework, tax information, and so forth is far more important and far more valuable than the hardware that you're sitting in front of right now. As time goes on, we've come to rely on this technology more and more, and these machines are fallible. And the people that take care of them, they're fallible too. People make mistakes. We delete files by accident and so forth. So the best way that I've found to address this issue is to make sure that everything that's important to me is on more than one device, preferably several devices. So currently, we need to talk about storage. So currently there are two different kinds of storage. There's local storage, physical storage, and there's what is called the cloud. So let's start by talking about physical storage devices. These are things that you purchase and you care for, take care of locally. Some of these would include the following. Okay, first we've got old-fashioned floppy disks. Now you may not use these very much, but they're still around in some surprising places. Old technology doesn't just go away. It usually hangs around for a lot longer than most people expect. The next thing we have is our hard drives. These are the physical spinning drives that are inside of your computer. They're not removable generally. This is where data and programs are stored long term. They might be, that data and programs might be brought into electronic memory when the computer's turned on and you're using those programs, but what's in memory goes away when the machine's turned off. And the data on the hard drive is persistent even when the machine's turned off. So, by the way, this is how, this is why some programs, if you run into a problem and you reboot, that solves the problem. It's because whatever's in memory gets messed up, and by rebooting, you clear that out and refresh that from the disk, and then things seem to work better. Now, of course, if the problem is with the information of the programs that's on the disk, rebooting isn't going to help. So then you have a bigger problem to solve, and that's just how it goes. It is becoming more common for machines in the modern era to have solid-state drives or SSDs. And these are non-moving, they're electronic only, and but they are able to store information when the machine's turned off, just like a hard drive. They usually don't hold as much data as a hard drive for the same amount of money, but they are orders of magnitude faster. For one thing, they're all electronic. There's nothing to move. There's nothing to wear out in a physical sense. So really one of the easiest ways to speed up a computer is to replace the hard drive with an SSD. Just a little tip there. Related to SSDs is flash memory. Most common, this is a USB drive or a flash drive, thumb drive, sometimes they're called. There's all kinds of names for the same thing. These, again, are solid state. There's no moving parts, and they can hold significantly more data than things like floppy disks, obviously, and CDs, DVDs, and sometimes even Blu-rays. They are removable, so they're convenient to take from one machine to the next. And they're small enough that you can also easily run them through the washing machine and ruin them. I've done this several times. Check your pockets when doing laundry. There's your next tip for the day. Next, we have optical discs. These would be things like CD-ROMs, DVDs, and Blu-rays. They generally can hold a lot of information. They're pretty stable storage, so long-term the information on them should remain intact. They are, obviously, everybody knows this by now, prone to being scratched and things like that. So they're fragile in that regard. And there's also digital tape. This is one of those things that seems kind of quaint. You know, you think of 1960s science fiction, and they have the big reels of tape going back and forth in the background to show that computers are doing something. This is still actually very common in like a work environment like mine. Modern formats can hold terabytes of data per tape, and they do this very, very cheaply, and they're usually pretty stable, and so you can ensure that that data is going to be readable for many, many years after that. So they're often used for archival purposes and things like that. And finally, we have good old-fashioned paper. Now, the main advantage of paper is that it doesn't require any special equipment other than eyeballs to read back, or maybe fingers if it's Braille. However, it does have the lowest data per unit of material. The data density is pretty low on paper. And also, of course, it's flammable. So it's not maybe the best thing, but it's still kind of hard to beat a hard copy of your information. So what about the cloud? We hear this all the time, this idea of cloud computing or cloud storage. The cloud is just computers with hard drives in a big data center someplace that you rent space on. It's not very exciting when you put it that way, but you know, that's the difference between marketing and reality. That's just really what it is. Companies like Dropbox and Amazon and Google and Microsoft, Apple, companies like those and lots of others have huge data centers. Sometimes, you know, 10 times the size of the Unidome here on the UNI campus. I mean, these are gigantic buildings filled with computers, generating lots of noise and heat and things like that. And it's very complicated to take care of them. But those companies do that, and you can rent space on those machines. Now, the advantage with this is that they bother with all the backing up and managing and storage and all that kind of stuff. And so you can just use that service and not have to worry about, you know, running your thumb drive through the washing machine or something like that. They also make all your data available to you from any internet-connected device, and so that's very, very convenient. There's a great video on cloud storage in e-learning that I'd like you to watch after you get done watching this video lecture. So there are a number of advantages to cloud computing. However, as with everything, there are downsides to it as well. What I'd like you to do is create a discussion thread in e-learning and discuss some of these negative aspects of cloud computing. Find at least 2 real-world examples of these downsides and discuss them. And on the next slide, I have a few visual prompts here to help you think about some possible negative aspects of cloud computing. You can see what most of those are. Betty White in there. I was going to put a picture of my mom, but I put Betty White instead. So just gives you a few ideas to go on. So that is physical storage and cloud computing. You have your assignment. If you have any problems, as always, send me an email.